Now let's cover a short introduction to set and get methods, which give control over property value access. We'll start with the set access. This is applicable to expressions where object.propertyName appears on the left-hand side of an assignment. For example, like this, where a right-hand side expression's value is being assigned as the property value of the named object. Now, this assignment can be executed from a variety of places, and the rules for dispatching the assignment, in other words, what code is called, are simple, but they do need to be delineated. It's also true that the programmer can control how this occurs. So the question is, what are the rules and what gets called? First, if this assignment is done within the setPropName method, which we'll cover shortly, if it exists, then there's really direct access to assign the property value. That expression is executed, and whatever the right-hand side expression evaluates to becomes the property value for that property. If the assignment is done within any other method of the class, then it calls this setPropName method if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then again there's direct access to assign the property value. Outside the methods, say from another function or another class or the Matlab command window, a method called subsassign, if it is implemented, is called. If you look at this assignment, it just shows that for object, the value of the property defined by propName is replaced by the right-hand side expression's value. If subsassign is not implemented, and if the property's setAccess attribute is public, which is the default, then the setPropName method is called, if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then we fall through again to direct access to assign the property value. What have we experienced in the few examples we've run in the command window? Well, we were in the command windows, so the assignments were executed outside the methods. We have not implemented a subsassign method, and the properties do have setAccess set to public. As I mentioned, that's the default. We had not written a setPropName method, therefore we had direct access to assign the property value, which is exactly what we saw. Let's cover the basic details of how to define and call a property set method. Here I'm using a very simple class just to illustrate what we're trying to accomplish here. It has one property, P1, and one method, which is the setP1 method. The syntax is two arguments are passed in, the object and the new value. This is associated with the named property, and the value is modified and the object returned. The usual pattern in here is some conditions are checked. They're not always true, so true would be replaced by some conditions and error checking. If the conditions evaluate to true, then the assignment takes place. Remember that in a setProperty method, the code has direct access to assign the property's value. So this assignment will overwrite whatever P1's value is with this new value. That's why it should only be done if the conditions are valid. The setPropertyName methods are called using the normal dot syntax. For instance, if A is an object of class myClass, then the value of the P1 property can be set to 7 using the syntax A.P1 equals 7. Effectively, this calls the set.P1 method of that form. But you don't write that. Express it with the normal dot syntax. Dynamic property referencing also works. Review that for structures. So to summarize, the value of properties can be set externally using the syntax object.propertyName equals new value. If there's a method called set.propertyName, it will be called, allowing for error checking and any computations that need to be done before the property value is actually changed. Now, if there's no setPropertyName method, then the syntax simply changes the property value directly. We've seen that already, much like a struct, where no checking of any sort is performed. Let's enhance the class employee to a new class employee A, where we'll control the ability to set property values. Here we are in Matlab. Let's look at the employee class def file. And now let's look at employee A. Same set of properties with default values. But there's a methods code block now which includes three functions: the set.name method, set.category method, and finally the set.id number method. Let's look at them one at a time, although they're all very similar. For the set.name, the only error checking is that the name is a character, it is two-dimensional, and it is a row vector. If that's all satisfied, then the value of the name property is set equal to the argument that was passed in. Otherwise, a simple invalid name error message. Similar for the category. In this example, we've envisioned that there are 6 categories of employees: trainee, intern, part-time, career, manager, and CEO. We'll use a switch statement. In this case, the desired new category is passed in and switch on that value. The case, of course, is this cell array of all the possible categories. If there's a match, then the value of the category property is simply assigned the new category. Otherwise, it means there was no match, and that must have been an illegal category was specified by new category. Lastly, the ID number is checked to be a numeric, scalar, integer valued, and greater than 0. Perhaps those are the conditions for a valid employee number. In that case, the assignment to the value of the property is done, otherwise invalid number. That completes the 3 methods. Let's see how this works. First, let's make up an employee object. Remember that the employee class did not define any set methods. Hence, we can change the name to an illegal name, for instance, an array, and that works. On the other hand, let's create an employee A class. If we try to set a.name to a number, we know that's illegal. And sure enough, we get an error message, invalid name. Let's set the name to Joe Smith, make it valid. Likewise, setting the ID number to a character string does not work, but setting it to an integer does. Valid values for category are 6 specific character strings. Let's try a character string for category that isn't listed. Owner was not listed because nothing matches in the switch case statement. Make Joe a career employee. So by implementing the set property methods, the employee A class has 3 and only 3 properties, and the ability to change and modify their values is restricted so that they're always legal. Exactly the same ideas hold for get access. This is relevant for expressions where object.propertyName appears on the right-hand side of an assignment. For example, here, where object.propertyName is an argument to the myFunction call. As before, this type of property reference might be executed from a variety of places, and the rules for dispatching it are simple but need to be clarified. Again, the programmer can control this, and what are the rules and what gets called is very similar. Within the getPropertyName method, there's direct access to the property value. From within other methods, they simply make calls to the getPropertyName method if it exists. If not, then they have direct access to the property value. And finally, from outside the methods, there's a call to subsref if it is implemented. Like subsassign, the syntax for subsref indicates that the property associated with property name is being referenced from the object. If subsref is not implemented, but the property's getAccess attribute is public, then the getPropertyName method is called, if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then as usual, there's finally direct access to the property value. In the examples we have some experience with, that's what we were seeing. We were outside the methods in the Matlab command window. Subsref had not been implemented. The getAccess attributes of the properties were public by default. We had not implemented a getPropName method, and therefore we had direct access to the property value. So now you understand how to define and write set property and get property methods. For the remaining slides in this unit, I won't focus on this anymore, and we'll move to some other methods that you'll need to write for your classes. But remember that you can always include these set and get property methods to control the access as you wish.